and a candy man. Like a freight train rolling, bringing truth bombs down the line. Promoting the Southland 1 week at a time. Promoting the Southland 1 week at a time. SCV Chat starts now.
Good Monday morning, everybody. Hope y'all have had a great week. We've missed you.
It's Monday morning.
Or evening. Feels like morning to me. My sleep schedule's all messed up thanks to the past Mississippi Division reunion. But hey, before we get started, the views and opinions expressed on this episode are not necessarily those of the SCV. It's GEC, Executive Director, Division Brigade Camp, or other subsidiaries. Strictly those of us who are expressing them. Did you get my message in the private chat?
I was sharing out the episode.
Check the message in the private chat.
All right. I see the message in the private chat.
He's got the message in the private chat, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get started, though, good evening to Robert Corbin and Al, who is watching from the YouTubes. Gerald Nelson, who is on the beautiful Mississippi Gulf Coast. David Pope. Good to see David this weekend at the Forest Boyhood Home. Looking forward to that. Al, who is also on the Facebook as well. So Al's watching twice. Dr. Sandy Mitchum, hello there. Sean McFall, hello. Paul Gramling Jr., past Commander-in-Chief, happy to see you in. Kyle Thompson, I saw the pictures of the Jefferson Davis birthday thing that y'all did this past weekend up in Fairview. I would have loved to have been up there, but in Mississippi Division Reunion, and had fun hosting it. C.W. Johnson, good evening. Faversham, Carl, and good morning to you too. Hello to the Kennedy twins who are watching from the Make Dixie Great Again page on YouTube. Jason Lloyd, good evening. Jude, we're looking forward to seeing you at National Reunion. Jordy, remember, Jordy, you're on next week. You're on next Monday, Jordy. Don't forget about that. So yes, we are happy to be back. Like we said, we just got back from the Mississippi Division reunion. If you have never hosted a division reunion, everybody should do it once. Everybody should do it once. We had a great time with ours. Wonderful turnout. You've hosted it once. I've hosted it once. Hello, Florida man, Sean McFall. Hello, Jack. But yeah, we had a great time with it, and we're filled with state pride right now. So we'll actually be talking
enough to host it again.
Yes. Listen, I'd be willing to host it again at some time in the near future, not in the central Mississippi area. Kind of out of town. I've got some ideas, but not within the next 2 years, that's for sure. Hi, Todd Owens, our still newest Patreon member. Remember, Patreon. How can you help support us? Help support us. Bring up the graphic, Moose. So, while Moose is doing that, I will say Moose did get his microphone in, but it's a USB mic, and his computer doesn't have a USB. It's an Apple.
Yeah, I bought this nice computer for the chat and for my work, and it doesn't have, it doesn't have one of these. I can't plug it in, so I might have to get an adapter, but I do have a mic now. So audio is a thing of the past.
Yeah, the audio quality will improve. Our next big purchase is green screens. Maybe. Hopefully.
Sign up
at some point.
Yes, if you're having trouble finding that, you can go to scvchat.com and hit the Support Us tab. And we also have something else on the Support Us tab, don't we, Connor?
Yes, our T-shirts, which, speaking of our T-shirts, if you saw it a little while ago, we reminded everybody, go ahead and pull that up while you're at it there, Moosey.
Do we have a T-shirt?
Or go to the Support Us page on the
I got you.
bonfire. So anyway, we do have our bonfire, because somebody asked us about this. We do have our bonfire storefront up with our wonderful t-shirts, including our one we just ended the sale on today. Today was the last day to get it, or actually I think you have until midnight to get the Jeff Davis. All we ask is to be let alone shirt, but we do have some other ones available. But again, this is when we were talking about the old school logo. This is just happens to be the back of the shirt. We have it on the front of the shirt. This is the United Sons of Confederate Veterans original logo from years and years and years ago that we got permission to produce. That is a museum fundraiser. After National Reunion, we will not be selling any more of these. So get them while you can. We've got them in the comfort color tees. We've got them in the premium other tees. And we have them in a long sleeve because, again, I know it's June. It's 90 degrees outside. It really looks good on the red. But it's 90 degrees outside. But hey, come this winter, we won't be selling these shirts. So get the shirt. But they come in all the Army colors: red for the A&V, blue for the ATM, and yellow for the Army of Tennessee. Also, we got it in gray if you just don't want to support the Army. But we have them. They go in the comfort colors that go all the way up to 4X, in the long sleeve that go up to 5, and in the other short tee that go up to 4. So get them while you can. This is the same company that did the Hank the Possum t-shirts. So get them while you can. Like I said, after National Reunion, we will be pulling them down from the site. But anyway, and Moose is putting them in the chat so you can get those. So yeah, also Todd, I see you commenting on here. We saw that you joined Patreon. Here's the thing, though. The only way that Patreon, you joined as a free membership, which was supposed to be taken off. The only way that you can get access to the exclusive content on our Patreon is if you are that paid membership real chat head level. So I'll pull. Oh well, I won't let me because I'm signed into it. Do you think you can sign into it as not, or get to the Patreon page without being signed into it?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Yeah, so it's SCV Chat, or excuse me, it's patreon.com/SCV Chat or SCV Chat support us. It's one of those. You can find it either way. It's $10 a month. Hopefully within the next month, we will have an annual subscription basis to where if you don't want to, be the $10, you can do it all at once. The Patreon goes directly to us. We're giving some of the money to the museum. Part of the proceeds rates, I think $2 out of every $10 we're giving to the museum. But it's you get some exclusive content like the book review that we're doing. Have you started reading the book, Moose?
Yeah, I started today.
Oh, goody. I've already done 3 blog postings about said book.
Well, I just want to make sure you had a
good head, that I had the good head start. Yeah. That's my game plan for this evening when we get off, is to go and read. But see, you see where it says become a member. Click there, and then you can sign up with that and then go from there. But make sure you are scroll down, see where it says choose. All right, the real chat heads, right there where it says join. That's where you need to join at. Everything else, it'll be blurred out for you. You won't be able to see it. Some of our first patrons should be getting their see, it's blurred out. Like you can see, like the t-shirts, you can see the videos. You also get early access to some of the stuff that we post out there. So hey, get a little bit behind the scenes, and our book review we are doing an actual podcast for. So once Moose gets caught up with me, we will be doing a podcast on the first section, and you'll only be able to listen to it on Patreon. And then we'll do the second section, and again, only on Patreon. The third section, only on Patreon. We're going to skip the fourth section because they don't really. That's something that can be skipped from what I've been told. And about a year, we'll put those podcasts out for everybody else to listen to. So, yeah, that's
It's a Patreon exclusive, and I think it will probably end up being one of the funnest podcasts we have done because of some of the topics we get to talk about in a more mature setting because of topic matter. But yeah, I do want to say something. Todd has corrected his membership.
Thank you, Todd.
He is now a real chat head. So Todd, if there's still any problems, you can contact me because my stuff has you listed now. So if you're still not getting all the content, let us know and we'll get you fixed up.
Oh, you're not late to the party. We're just killing time right now, Susie, and paying the bills. But I do, because we are going to talk about the Mississippi Division reunion as we segue into tonight's topic, the great and sovereign state of Mississippi. If you notice, we spelled it that way, Mississippi, Mississippi. I do want to give a huge shout out and thanks to Susie Bond White, my sister, who I would not have been able to help as much with the reunion and get as much done if it wasn't for her. I'm pretty sure I said that, on Saturday evening, but I'm going to say it again publicly. Thank you, Susie. Now don't get the big head because I've got enough ego for the both of us.
That he does.
Hey, Moose, what time is it?
It is 7:16.
Which also means it's time for Veteran of the Week.
How was I supposed to pick up on that?
We've only done it for like the past, several shows.
Oh, well, Also, join our Patreon, give us your veteran, and he might jump the line.
I'm not saying that.
I'm not saying
it. You just did say it.
You can either confirm or deny. I've said that.
I will rewind it. Anyway, all right. So who is this gentleman, Moose? Yes, that is James Ward Wood of the 7th Virginia Cavalry. He was one of the 4 founding fathers of the Kappa Alpha Order, my fraternity I was in college. And for all my brothers in KA out there, wheat, barley, alpha, give them hell, Kappa Alpha. So yeah, yeah, he did. He fumbled. He's good at. He's a good moose. But yeah, I'll save it for the Patreon on my point of view on that stuff. But yeah, just wanted to throw one out there that doesn't get he's not one that has been turned in, but I don't know any of his descendants. Would love to meet some of his descendants. But he is very special to me, not only because he was a Confederate veteran, but because in 1865 he and 4 others trying to rebuild their Southland went to Washington College. Found Robert E. Lee was the president of Washington College at that time. They decided to create their own organization that is still thriving to this day. I was lucky to be a part. Well, still am lucky to be a part of it as an alumni. Teaches what it means to be a Southern gentleman in a modern world. They've gotten a little bit away from their Confederate founding, but one can pray that they will return to the light. Kind of just went through my own. Yeah, just keep sending them in, David. We may, and it's not just Patreon subscribers. Moose ran his mouth off saying that. We're doing them at random. We're putting them in a generator and we're picking numbers like random. We just didn't have time to pick it at random. You do not get extra. He was being stupid. He was being Moose. Bad Moose. Bad. You sit in timeout. No, we put the ancestors' name of list, or we keep a list. We pick them with a random number generator, 1 through whatever. As we get done with them, the strike off the list. So we're not going to pick like the ancestor we've already done for you already, David, and re-put him up there. But the new one will be added on the list. So okay, you learn your lesson.
Yeah, no, I was just checking something out.
Okay. So anyway, but yeah, Mississippi Division reunion was this past weekend. We had some beautiful cockades as our medals this year, and guess who made those? That's right, this season's sponsor, Creative Cockades. Miss Heather did fantastic for us. We got a bunch of compliments on them. Her research, her dedication and documentation, her quality workmanship, and her personal customer service was highly appreciated. She's got a ton of great looking items in her shop. We've shown you some of them, like the original UCV, or not original UCV, but the replica of the UCV one. Several others that she has created. Really, really great job. Really great. We kind of themed the. We had two themes for the Mississippi Division reunion. I never explained to anybody. Friday night's theme was secession, and Saturday night's theme was 1864. Secession because, and we'll talk about it here in a little bit, we had our reception, our president's reception, our Jeff Davis birthday party, if you will, at the old Capitol Museum where Mississippi seceded from the Union. And then Saturday, when you got into the business hall and the banquet room, there were Hardy flags, two Hardy flags, posted in the room. And that's because we were doing 1864, this being the 160th year of the Battle of Franklin. So we had Adam Southern come down and keynote about that. I know it's a little bit early, but we're going to go ahead and take our commercial break and come back and talk about some unknown history of Mississippi, as well as talk some more about the Mississippi Division reunion. Moose, commercial.
Aha.
Actually, I'm going to pick it.
I am Rabbi Thomas Fortenberry. I'm a descendant of Isaac Fortenberry, a Confederate veteran. Many of the people in my family were veterans. As a military veteran, I served with the United States Army. It's important to veterans of all wars to remember those who have passed and what they did and what they suffered. Everyone who serves gives a part of themselves. The SCV is much a part of that. The SCV serves people, not only the people that are involved as members, but the community. My commitment to the SCV is a commitment to our heritage, our cause, not in a violent way nor aggressive way, simply in the way we live. Live what you believe, but in your defense, know in what you're defending and defend it truthfully. May Yahavah bless you and keep you. May Yahavah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace and blessing.
Reason why we chose that is Tom is from Mississippi, or Mississippi, as it's correctly supposed to be. And Jason, you are right. It is the 160th of Bryce's Crossroads. That reenactment was this past weekend up in Baldwin, Mississippi. I talked to some of my guys of my battalion who went, and they said they had a lovely hot time. So we did, again, the Mississippi Division SCV. We had our reunion this past weekend. We had our reception in the old Capitol. Part of it was downstairs where William Barksdale, who we'll be talking about a little bit later, after they disinterred his body, they brought him back up, brought him back down to Mississippi. He lay in state. You see several folks there wearing their cockades in the room where secession was voted on. Picture of me and Adam Southern, just me and my cockade and Adam, and we have the Bonnie Blue flag flying there because when Mississippi seceded, that was the flag that was hoisted over the old Capitol. The Republic of Mississippi, or the Magnolia flag, was not adopted until later on in the convention process, but that's the flag we used as our secession flag. So standing in that original room, standing there with the flag, it was really, really cool, as well as Forrest Dawes giving a wonderful accounting of the secession convention, as well as reading the actual ordinance of secession, which is completely different than the Declaration of Causes that people like to throw at us. One thing that the Mississippi Department of Archives and History did, they brought out 2 coats. I only have the picture of the one. This coat was worn by later governor, but at that time, General Robert Lowry. General Lowry commanded at first he commanded the 6th Mississippi Infantry Regiment after J.J. Thornton, who I'll be talking about later, was wounded at Shiloh. But that is his original coat he wore in 1864, as well as his sash. The Mississippi Division is going to start hopefully sending money to Archives and History to preserve that coat. But it was really cool that they brought it out. We were able to see it, especially the original sash, and that sash looks like it just came from the sutlery. But before we went into the old Capitol, we had our division reunion memorial service, and we had it outside of the Mississippi Confederate Memorial, and we'll talk about that, or at least I will, a little bit later on, and the importance of that memorial, and the fact that that memorial in itself breaks most, how do I put it lightly? This memorial disproves modern academia's ideas of the Confederacy.
That's a great way to put it.
And the story of it. Here's a picture of me and Moose and Daddy Moose. I don't know why I ended up in the center on that.
It's like a little
notice her feet are all equally spread apart.
Yeah, that was OCD by certain someone we will not name.
Tall man. No, well, I'm going to try to go in order. I'll save that one. One thing that a lot of people don't realize is that Stephen D. Lee actually served as served as a senator in Mississippi, after the war, and his portrait hangs in the Senate Hall of Fame. That's what that gallery's called. This is one of our brigade commanders, Boyd Coker, standing beside the picture. Moose standing beside the picture of General Lee. Myself standing beside the picture of General Lee. Moose's aide-de-camp, and Jack, if you're watching, standing beside the portrait of General Lee. Forrest standing beside the portrait of General Lee. Hey, do you have the picture of Forrest and his hero?
I might. Let's see.
While you're looking to see if you can get that up, y'all guess who Forrest's favorite name to say in the history of Mississippi is? One cool thing, you've probably seen him comment on the show, and if you're not following his page, go follow his page. We passed a resolution of appreciation for Stark Miller. Stark Miller does tours. He's the premier historian of the 11th Mississippi Company A, the University Grays, who suffered 100% casualties there at Gettysburg. But a resolution thanking him for his service. I had to command the division color guard this past weekend, so I was still in color guard uniform when we did that. I didn't get the chance to change it to my suit until that evening. And then we had our business session. We did all of our business session things, and we finished our business session things. We had our award ceremony. And our award ceremony, we chose this year to rename it. Instead of just the Mississippi Division Award Ceremony, it was the Dr. W.D. McCain Memorial Award Ceremony. Dr. McCain being a Mississippian and a very prominent influence in the SCV. I mean, when he took over as adjutant-in-chief in the 1950s, we had 1,000 members, I think like 100 camps and $1,000 in the bank. And by the time that he passed away, we had grown to 18,000 members. We purchased Elm Springs. We had a large endowment fund, and just so much other stuff that it's fitting and honored, fitting that we renamed our memorial service, or not memorial service, excuse me. We renamed our award ceremony in his honor because if it weren't not for him, we wouldn't be here. Well, if it weren't for our ancestors, of course, we wouldn't be here today. But had he not saved the SCV in the 1950s, we wouldn't be able to have the award ceremony. So it's a way for us to continue his legacy and his memory, keeping it on down the line. Now, of course, we mentioned Forrest's hero, who that grizzled, distinguished gentleman is Lucius Quintus Cincinnatus Lamar, who drafted the Ordinance of Secession, served as a diplomat and officer in the Confederate Army, served as a U.S. Senator, Secretary of the Interior, and a justice on the Supreme Court. So yeah, but that was a lot of fun this weekend. It was a lot. And yeah, Rich, we have mentioned the Forest Boyhood homecoming. I will be there this weekend. I'm looking forward to be there. So really quickly, Ron Kennedy asked, is there a portrait of Governor Brandon? The Governor's Hall of Fame, all the portraits of the governors, including Adelbert Ames, excuse me, had to get that taste out of my mouth, is in the new Capitol. So the picture of Governor General Robert Lowry is in the new Capitol. Reason why I mentioned that, and Brandon is in the new Capitol. Lowry, in doing some research about his life, actually in 1906 was the division commander for the UCV when S.D. Lee was, commander general of the UCV. So that's just a little thing, but it's if Mississippi still has it, it'll be in the new Capitol, along with that beautiful Confederate mural. So yeah, Jason Lloyd, I think that Humphrey's uniform was in the MOC, the former MOC, whatever it is now. I know that when Time Life did the Echoes of Glory series, they put his picture or a picture of that uniform in there. And one of these days, I'm going to try to get a reproduction of it.
Jack says he still has his portrait up, and you can see
his UCV lapel pin in it. Yeah,
cool.
So, but again, we're going to talk about the great and sovereign state of Mississippi and just some history. The historian, or our historian, local or residential, I guess is the correct, or official historian, Michael C. Hardy, is big about preserving the history in your own backyard. A lot of times there's the stories of the generals and everybody else that everybody knows about, Lee, Jackson, Forrest, so on and so forth. But it's your own, backyard history that gets so overlooked, but yet is so important for us, especially in the SCV, because it, we're based in our communities, we're based in our hometowns. And for many of us, it's generations back. Like Harrison, he's there for generations back in Wayne County. So there's that connection to it, and there's connection to other families and things like that. So, I'm a transplant into Rankin County. I'm a ninth generation Mississippian, but I am seventh or ninth. I can't remember. I do know that the earliest ancestor was here before statehood. But anyway, my family has been in Mississippi. Both sides of the family have been in Mississippi since I think the latest person that got here was 1840. But I've lived all over Mississippi, from the Delta to the Pine Belt to I guess Brookhaven is still considered the Pine Belt, and Central Mississippi, and just so I've got a connection to the whole of the state, I would think. But it's still very cool, and it's still, there's a lot of stories that go untouched. So the very first one that we're going to talk about, at least I'm going to talk about, I've got about 4, and then I'm going to shut up and let Moose, because Moose has got some that he's going to talk about from home. So the first one, Moose, bring up the picture of us around the monument again, if you don't mind.
All right.
Let me see if I can find this. So this monument, again, is the State of Mississippi Monument. I'm going to see if I can find the pictures from the early days of it. This monument was erected in like 1891. And it's very, I love it. Because it's right beside the old Capitol. If you go up to it, in the bottom of it, there's a statue of Jefferson Davis. You can't get in there anymore. The doors are actually locked. So you can't get into it, but it's very beautiful. The carvings on it, but it's still very simplistic as well. As far as some of them have flags etched in them. The one up in Greenwood has the Star of the West's wheel, because that happened up there. But the monument for this one, it's very simple, and to me, it lets the in memory of our Confederate dead speak for itself. But this monument, when it was proposed to being bought and paid for, again, this is 1890 when the first little bit about it, the first suggestion of getting one, and I've just uploaded a newspaper clipping here. You can find that on the Wikipedia page about it. There were actually men in the legislature who were sons of Confederate veterans, who did not want to pay for this memorial. And there was a gentleman, a representative by the name of John Harris. John Harris got up and gave a speech defending the monument. Harris, in his speech, gets up and he says that, first and foremost, the reason why this monument is very important is because John Harris was a former slave. And this is the research that I found a couple years ago. I'll just read it. In 1890, the Mississippi House of Representatives was about to vote on a bill to appropriate $10,000 to complete the Confederate monument on the grounds of the state capitol. This would be the old Capitol. Anyway, during the debate on the bill, Representative John F. Harris, a Republican representing Washington County and a former slave, rose to speak his piece. And here are his words. Mr. Speaker, I have arisen here in my place to offer a few words on the bill. I have come from my sickbed and was forced to struggle up here leaning on the arm of a friend. I stand here in considerable pain. Perhaps it was not prudent for me to come. But, sir, I cannot rest quietly in my room, sick though as I am, and allow this discussion to pass without contributing to it a few remarks of my own. I was sorry to hear the speech of the young gentleman from Marshall County. I'm sorry that any son of a soldier should go on record as opposed to the erection of a monument in honor of the brave dead. And, sir, I'm convinced that had he seen what I saw at Seven Pines, I want to pause right there. Again, Harris says this, and, sir, I am convinced that he had seen what I saw at Seven Pines and in the 7 days fighting around Richmond and the battlefields covered in the mangled forms of those who fought for their country and their country's honor, he would not have made that speech. When the news came that the South was to be invaded, those men went forth to fight for what they believed, and they made no request for monuments to commemorate their brave deeds and holy sacrifices. But they died, and their virtues should be remembered. Sir, I went with them. I, too, wore the gray, the same color that my master wore. We stayed for 4 long years, and if that sad war had gone on till now, I would have been there yet. I know what it meant and understand the meaning of my words when I say I would have been with my countrymen still had the war continued till this good day. I want to honor those brave men who died for their convictions. When my mother died, I was a boy, who, sir, acted as the part of the orphan slave board by my old missus. Were she living now, or could she speak to me from those high realms where gathered the sainted dead, she would tell me to vote for this bill. And, sir, I shall vote for it. I want it known to all the world that my vote is given in favor of the bill to erect a monument in the honor of the brave Confederate dead. So the reason why I love this monument, and this is a great piece of history, in my backyard is the fact that we have an African American, a former slave. You know, everybody says that, oh, the Black Confederate didn't exist. Well, here is a man in his own words, and it's very easily found, who got up from his sickbed, a Republican representative, you know, in the post-war, post-active Reconstruction era, gets up from his sickbed and comes and defends a Confederate monument, and he admits his service to the Confederacy. I mean, you know, how, and that's an old picture of the monument from about the 1950s, before the current Capers building, which was the old research for the archives and history, was built. But I mean, still, that one story right there completely defunks the narrative that modern academia tries to spill towards us. It completely throws it out with, you know, with trash. I mean, this is a Black man, in his own words, in the 1890s, that living generation, who says, yes, I was a Confederate soldier. If the war was still going on, I would still be fighting it. Had the South not been invaded by Lincoln, you know, that's what caused the South to fight. That's what caused me and my former master to go off to war. You know, the everything in that one speech completely defeats the Yankee narrative. That's why your history in your backyard is so important. You know, there are countless stories of this all across the South, and we need to know that. So that's one story. The second story that I want to talk about, that is really, really cool, at least in my backyard, is the story of Captain Addison Harvey. Addison Harvey was he's really kind of a really cool guy. He was a young guy at the beginning of the war. He of course, war breaks out. He joins the army. He raises a company. In one of the write-ups about the Harvey Scouts, Addison Harvey was a leader of and a remarkable man. He would have none but reliable men about him. He had no use for men or mean, follow, or stupid or lukewarm men. So again, you know, you had to fight for Harvey. You had to be smart. You had to be on fire for the cause. You had to be of good nature. He was not satisfied with the mere mechanical performances of his duty. He required vim, enthusiasm, resolution, activity, consciousness, and devotion to the cause. And it were those traits that inspired his men during the war and afterwards, and at each memory or each reunion where they gathered in his memory. Captain Harvey was from Canton, Mississippi, which is right up the road from us here in Jackson. Captain Harvey, his men or his unit was described as, from one Mississippian historian, as one of the most best intelligence gathering units for the Army of Tennessee. It was named after Harvey of Madison County. I've got a photo here I'm trying to get uploaded right now that is a picture of some of the men of Harvey Scouts, actually in New Orleans, Louisiana in April of 1906. So these men were present when General Lee gave the charge to us. For the most part of the war, at least the latter part, there they are, right there. That's their headquarters, so to speak. There at that reunion. But for a vast majority of the war, especially after 1863, the scouts themselves operated independent, gathering intelligence, gathering, not spying on the enemy, because that's not a correct term, but they were scouting the enemy and things like that. There's, if you Google them, there's a wonderful on the Civil War Talk discussion threads. I didn't come up with a website name, but there's a story in there about how several Federals were captured by Harvey, things like that. All sorts of things. Harvey himself, the thing that really hits me home was the fact of Harvey's death. So Harvey is in 1865, April of 1865. in Columbus, Georgia, and Columbus was rioting at the time, and Harvey and his men are camped outside of the town. They just put down the unrest in the city, and one of the citizens is trying to sneak out, and they try to steal one of, from the way I've read, and I've read a couple different accounts. He goes to steal a horse. They capture him. He breaks free, and then he comes back, and Harvey and his men are sitting around the fire, and they hear about Lee's surrender up at Appomattox. And Harvey says something like, "Well, if we've surrendered, I do not want to live in the Union." And then, like, after he gets done saying that, bullet, enters his back, and he's murdered. And that guy the guy who they captured earlier is the murderer, steals a horse and rides off. Now, how much truth to there is that, we don't know. Accounts of his death do say that he was assassinated, so we do know that he was shot in the back. So that is there's some truth to it. But it's still a great piece of history. And again, going into the monument, there are two monuments. Harvey himself has a monument over his grave that is very unique. It's a very beautiful monument. He, of course, was first buried in Columbus, but after the war, he was reinterred. And there's a copy of on his Fonda grave about the newspaper article that was written about him. But what is also cool is right across, about maybe it used to be about 100 yards. The Madison County Historical Society moved it across the street, so maybe it's now 200 yards from where he's buried is this obelisk. Now, this obelisk has been moved, but you can see back in the background as a cemetery. That's where it used to stand years ago. But again, has been moved across the street onto the historical county ground yards. But this monument was erected by one of the men who, after the war, it very well could have been one of those pictures, went down to New Orleans and was able to be successful, rebuild his life, and came home and built this monument and erected it to the memory of the servants, and I believe the exact wording is men of color, who rode with Harvey's scouts. So again, in my backyard, my local history, there is a monument dedicated to Black Confederates. Really, again, your local history, you have to know your local history, because so much of local history can be used to defunct the Yankee narrative against us. The third story I'm going to talk about, I've kind of already mentioned William Barksdale, and his death in the couple episodes ago, his reburial. So I'm just going to skip over it. But I am going to talk about, this man was a hero of my father. I'm going to mention him and this one little bit of story. And it's the story of William Wirt Adams. William Wirt Adams was a brigadier general in the Confederate Army, but before that, he was an officer in the Republic of Texas. He held a captain's rank in the Texas militia before the war. And in fact, when Mississippi seceded from the Union, he was offered a position in the Confederate cabinet as Jeff Davis's first postmaster, and he refused. He wanted to fight. But before the war, he was a member of the House of Representatives. He served in 1858 and 1860. After Mississippi seceded from the Union, again at the secession convention, he was appointed as a commissioner to Louisiana. And he raised a cavalry regiment. And they fought all over. They were stationed in Kentucky for a while, Nashville, Corinth, Shiloh, just all sorts of things. Was heavily involved in the upcoming or leading up to the Vicksburg campaign. Was not caught inside the trenches. Was one of the few cavalry units that was actually out and about, not chasing Grierson. But after the fall of Vicksburg, he and the 28th Mississippi Cavalry they harassed Sherman as he was marching back to Jackson. If you think back to your history, Jackson had the Army of Tennessee under Joe Johnston, and Grant was afraid that now he was going to be trapped in his own siege works. So he sent Sherman to try to scare off Johnston, and all the way from the Big Black River to Jackson, Wirt Adams harassed the fire out of Sherman. In fact, when Sherman did his practice to the March to the Sea, which was from Vicksburg to Meridian in the early spring of 1864, I guess late winter, February to early spring of 1864. Again, Wirt Adams and his men, they harassed them all the way across central Mississippi. Fun fact, my hometown was actually burnt, or I say hometown, the town I live in now, was actually burnt during the March to the Sea, and our monument in Brandon is where local history says is where the Federals stacked their arms and burnt when they went to burn the town. And they the monument, the soldier actually faces towards Vicksburg, the direction that the Federals came from. Again, local history. You know your local history. That's a cool little tidbit. Also, going to give a little sidetrack before I digress back to Wirt Adams. Brandon, Mississippi is the only, according to everything I can find, the Brandon Republican, which is not like Republican Party, but like, somebody who supports the Republic, was the only newspaper not to miss an issue in throughout the entirety of the war, because A.J. France, who was a member of the Home Guard but was also the publisher of the newspaper, took his printing press out to the Pearl River swamps, and the Federals could never find it. But of course, the war ends, and Adams has to go back to civilian life. He lives in Vicksburg and Jackson for a while. In 1880, he was appointed as a Mississippi State revenue agent. He resigned in 1885 because he took a position as postmaster of Jackson by the appointment of President Grover Cleveland, which Cleveland, Mississippi is named after. But in 1888, Adams was made the target of a number of attacks by the editor of the New Mississippian, John H. Martin, a staunch prohibitionist and reform advocate. I believe that Martin was also a scallywag or a carpetbagger. Can't remember which one. But anyway, Martin published some very scandalous articles about Adams, among with other things, and really just assassinated his character in the newspaper, because Adams served as a witness in a trial of Colonel Jones S. Hamilton, who was acquitted for killing another newspaper editor of the city who had done the same things about Hamilton. And this happened in a street duel. But anyway, on May 1st, 1888, Adams reads the latest article and begins walking down President Street, which is about 2 blocks from where we were at the old Capitol, fuming, and he's with another man, and he's planning to go and encountering Martin. Martin walks out and looks and sees Adams coming at him. Martin immediately pulls a pistol. Adams pulls his pistol. They have a brief verbal altercation, and then they begin firing. Adams, being a grizzled veteran, a hard-fighting cavalryman, fires 3 times. Martin fires 6 times. Adams shot Martin through the chest and the leg and the hand. Adams was mortally wounded, later died, and he's buried in Greenwood Cemetery. So yeah, just again, very cool local Mississippi history. Wanted to touch on a little bit tonight that it's important that we understand our local histories, because when you go out there and recruit for your SCV camp, the more local stuff, and you can tie it home, and you can say, well, where the old Capitol is, well, this happened there, or where the intersection of President Street and Mid is in Jackson, this happened there, or where the Canton Cemetery is, this is who's buried there. It humanizes the fact that of the Confederacy, but also it ties people to their homes. So yeah, that's why we wanted to share this tonight. Moose, your stories.
All right, I tried to find some visual aids. Luckily, I found just a couple, and I mean we don't have too much longer, so go through it quickly, but this is one I've kind of
take your time, Moose. We're the ones that
there's
we run the show.
Well, you have a point, but the reason I'm going to also keep it short is this is one I've been telling at recruitments. It's a quick story of local history to kind of get people invested, and it is, of course, about the Wayne Rifles and my ancestors that served on the Wayne Rifles. So, of course, real quick, our camp commander, my father, Forrest S. Dawes, had this artist recreation of the Wayne Rifles flag. Very beautiful flag. The Latin down there means means protector and avenger. But the Wayne Rifles was organized in April of 1861 in Wayne County, Mississippi. They would become Company B. They were originally Company C, but this was for a brief time, of the 13th Mississippi Infantry. The original captain of the company was William J. Eckford. He led the company until he was killed in action at the Battle of Marvin Hill on July 1st, 1862. After this, Samuel H. Poe, my camp's namesake, became the captain of the Wayne Rifles. It is important to note that Captain Eckford's wife, Miss Bella Eckford, is the one who made the Wayne Rifles flag. And, of course, it is a variation on the Republic of Mississippi flag, the Magnolia flag, with a bit of Wayne County charm, I like to say, thrown in there. As you can tell, instead of a white star, it is gold. And, of course, we're still going back and forth on what the center magnolia tree looked like because of how, of course, the war happened. It was very rough on that flag. It was made of silk. So we're still finding what it might be. But luckily, my father is a great historian, and I have no doubt that this is probably going to be what it probably looked like the most. Of course, as I said earlier, the Wayne Rifles motto was Protector and Avenger. It was carried to the Battle of First Manassas, and it was taken all the way to Sharpsburg, Gettysburg, and, of course, many other closing battles of the war. At the conclusion of the war, the flag had survived, and it was brought back to Wayne County, where it spent years hanging in the courthouse wall before age and deterioration began to take its toll. Now that flag is in the Mississippi Department of Archives and History. It was never surrendered. We kept that flag. We're able to take it back home. But one of my the cool things I discovered recently, or not recently, but a couple years ago, is that I had an ancestor serve in the Wayne Rifles. He was my great granduncle, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. The Latin means protector and avenger.
Can you say the Latin?
I'm not dishonoring them men by saying it. But Private Thomas S. McElwain was my ancestor that fought with the Wayne Rifles. He was one of the first to join up. He was there at the beginning of the war and served for a year. He first saw action at the First Battle of Manassas. He would go on to fight in the battles of Leesburg, Salvage Station, and Marvin Hill, before being honorably discharged. The Wayne Rifles would go on to fight in some of course, more well-known battles, including Sharpsburg, Fredericksburg, and, of course, participating in Gettysburg. But after the war, Thomas S. McElwain would retire to Texas, which is still one of the craziest things about it, as I believe he was originally from Alabama, right on the state line is Wayne County in Alabama. It's a less than a 10-minute drive from here for me to cross the state line. So a lot of my ancestors were on the Alabama side, but came over to serve in Wayne County, Mississippi. But he ended up in Texas and died on July 7th, 1906. And I got one more visual aid Dad and I tried to go visit our ancestors as much as possible, but this is great. Of course, that is the old design of the Wayne Rifles flag that we have on there. Of course, it's been a while since we've been able to go out there to him, but it was a cool thing to go out and see him and see someone that served in the Wayne Rifles. I'm related to, and it's that local history you were talking about. It feels like I'm more tied to the Wayne Rifles because my camp is named after the second captain of the Wayne Rifles, but my direct ancestor didn't fight in it. But then to come to find out, I did have an ancestor fight with a Wayne Rifle. So it makes me feel more connected to my Wayne County roots. It makes me feel more connected to Samuel H. Poe, the Wayne Rifles, that beautiful, beautiful Wayne Rifles flag. I feel connected to it all. I love that flag. Me and Dad probably have about 3 or 4 versions of it. It's also our camp's flag now. So it's cool to have that local history, and Wayne County is just rich with history, and so is Mississippi. But as I said, it's a kind of a quick talk simply because I've been giving it at recruiting booths, trying to get people interested. So I believe I could talk on it more. I would need to get a couple of my notes from the house that my father has. He is a great genealogist, my father. He has found so much ancestors and history. I'm honestly blessed because he has found so much great family history and helped me feel more connected to my Wayne County / Mississippi roots. I think I've bored Connor to death.
No, I'm just checking some of the comments. Yeah, Jason, as Forrest S. Dawes, historian in chief and first lieutenant commander of Mississippi Division, says that yes, the 13th Mississippi battle flag is at the conservator right now. We were supposed to get it back, but conservation takes some time. But the Mississippi Division SCV since 2002 has spent $250,000 preserving Confederate battle flags. And I was proud under my administration as division commander to have sent a total of, I believe, is it 5 or 6, Forrest? I know you're still watching. I think it was 5. It may have been 6 off to the conservator, and we got 3 back, and we're waiting on the last 2.
5.
5. Okay. I couldn't remember if it was 5 or 6. But yeah, the 13th Mississippi is one that I'm very looking forward to get back.
Me too.
Well, seeing how we have a little bit more time, I could talk about Barksdale.
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, you don't sound too enthusiastic about him.
I'm still recovering from reunion, man.
Look, Barksdale was cool. I mean,
Barksdale is very cool.
I mean, the man literally got into a fight on the floor of the U.S. House of Representatives. He was trying to stop, some guys from fighting. Gets sucker punched by one Yankee. Thinks it's another Yankee. Turns around, punches him. And then another Yankee who's like a brother of this other Yankee reaches to grab Adam and grab him by the back of the head and yank him, and nobody realized that Barksdale wore a wig and yanked his wig off. and everybody is like, it's like a pause. Barksdale goes up to him, yanks the wig back, and puts it on backwards.
Please tell me there has to be a portrait of that out there somewhere.
There's not.
There needs to be one. Because you could just hear the anger in that story.
No, Jack. We never do the ceremonies for the return of the flags because I'm not going to say anything. They usually go in the vault and they rotate them out for displays until we can get the National Confederate Museum and Beauvoir on the inner loan system from the Archives and History, and then we'll do some stuff there. My views, my opinions. Stop it.
I didn't do it.
You did thumbs up.
I don't know why this means fireworks. Why? See, now it doesn't do it. It only does it when I'm not expecting it.
So, but still, he got into a fight. He had the largest funeral in Jackson, and this is during the middle of radical Reconstruction in 1868. Loaded with veterans and stuff like that. He laid in state in the old Capitol. So where we ate dinner the other night, Friday night,
Mm-hmm.
Barksdale's body laid there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean it's very cool. He has 3 tombstones.
Barksdale has 3?
He has 3 tombstones. He has the tombstone that's actually over his body that was put up a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He has a VA memorial tombstone in Columbus because he was born in Smyrna, Tennessee, but lived in Columbus for a vast majority of his life. He was orphaned by 14, by the way, but lived majority of his life in Columbus as a newsletter editor before getting into politics. And so he has one there, and then there's one in the Confederate section of Greenwood Cemetery in Jackson. So yeah, he has three tombstones, and he also, I found this out doing some research today because originally I was going to dedicate the episode to Barksdale, and we'll do one in the future.
Oh, yeah, Barksdale deserves his own episode without a doubt. His story is phenomenal.
But when he was in the State House of Representatives at the same time as Jeff Davis, Barksdale served as a captain in I can't remember if it was the first or the second Mississippi Regiment in the Mexican War as an adjutant. I think it was the first. But of course, Barksdale knew Davis from then. And he also knew Davis from the legislature, and they had a disagreement on the floor. And they're staying at the same boarding house or hotel. I think it was a hotel. And Barksdale and a friend of his are eating supper. And Davis walks in and he says, Barksdale, I'm going to eat supper with you. Yes, cenotaph. He has 2 cenotaphs and a real headstone. Thank you, Dr. Mitchell. But Barksdale is, Davis sits down and Barksdale says, Davis, when you get done, I want to have a talk with you. So Davis eats, and then he goes up to Barksdale's room, and they're like literally right next door to each other. And Barksdale and his 2 friends are sitting in the room, Barksdale's room, and Davis knocks on the door, and he says, "Hey, we need to. You wanted to see me?" And he said, "Yeah, let's go to your room and talk." I'm putting this in modern nomenclature, obviously. Mm-hmm. And the two witnesses are sitting in Barksdale's room, and suddenly they hear screaming coming from next door, and it's heated screaming for a couple minutes. Next thing they know, Barksdale enters back into his room, and Davis is following him. And Barksdale's like, "I've said my piece. I'm not going to say anything more." And Davis looks at him and says, "He's called me out to a duel. I want y'all to know he has called me out to a duel." And Barksdale's denying it. "No, I didn't call you out to a duel. I didn't challenge you." And Dave's like, "Yeah, you challenged me and I accept it." And Davis ends up, according to the account I read, open hand slapped Barksdale in his hotel room. And Barksdale goes to punch Davis, and the 2 men get in between them. Davis pulls a knife. You didn't know this, did you?
That wasn't on my bingo card for tonight. No.
Yeah. I didn't realize that. Either. Jeff Davis pulls a knife on him and goes to start to stab him, and they break him up. And the article that I found, that's where I stopped reading because I was in tears reading that. Again, a piece of local history you just don't understand. Of course, Barksdale and his Mississippians go on to some infamy. Bet you didn't know this, David Pope. He couldn't stand Jubal Early because Jubal Early accused him of deserting Marye's Heights at 2nd Fredericksburg. But Barksdale and his Mississippians were outnumbered 20-1 when the Federals assaulted, and they were forced to retreat. So they got into a little bit of a newspaper war between each other. Yes, Adam, we are way too mild in today's society. We need to slap each other openly and start going at each other with knives. No, we don't. No, we don't. John, the reason why I was saying check his Find a Grave, it doesn't have a picture of him, but there's a little bit more information about him. Specifically about how he was one of the ones that left the radical Republicans in 1867. He was one of the first to leave the line, carpetbaggers. That John F. Harris worked with General Forrest in the campaign first in Memphis, where he lived for a time and went on to a bit of a speaking tour. And then, so, it connects John F. Harris with Bedford Forrest. But the local history is very interesting, and we need to be more versed on our local history. Definitely, because I would love to find the hotel site in Jackson and film a video there. Just you're mute. You're mute.
That's because I was
still muted.
I was laughing so hard that I wanted to mute myself. So all I can think of since you've told me this story is Jefferson just going up to someone and being like, "Ah," just keeps replaying in my head. The president, senator, Mississippian Jefferson Davis, one of the most
evidently he took offense to whatever Barksdale said, and just
you know what I want.
And then Barksdale socked him again, and then Jeff Davis pulled a knife.
I mean,
as long he can be Davis, because Barksdale was described as a round man. One of the accounts of the 11th Pennsylvania, it's not just described. He was rather well built for that day and age. But the officer of the 11th Pennsylvania that evidently or supposedly shot him said, "Shoot that big rebel officer," and the company leveled their muskets, and one of them got him. But still, okay.
I'll let you punch me if I get to Jefferson Davis slap you. That's I'll shave all this off just so I can have the goatee for it.
Yeah, you got to have the scruff.
I'll need to throw it out a bit more, but it's just, oh my gosh, you think of some of these great men, and sometimes you kind of. We're all human and we all do stuff, but you don't hear many times Jefferson Davis going out and slapping someone.
Yeah.
Basically being like, "I accept your duel."
He's challenged me. He's called me out. I'm going to accept it. No, I didn't. You calling me a liar?
Davis wanted that duel.
You going
came this close to losing two important people in our history.
Well, Davis and Benjamin almost got into a duel too.
I knew about
Davis. Davis was a little bit testy, at times. And Adam says all I can think about is Barksdale having his wig ripped off, getting it back, and then putting it on backwards.
You didn't expect tonight to get funny, but all of a sudden,
no, I know I didn't. History can be funny, but the whole point of this, besides to have some fun and nice, relaxed episode, is to talk about some of the local history in your area. I began thinking about it Saturday night. Adam was smoking one of the cigars. One of the cigars I gave the commander-in-chief that the commander-in-chief then re-gifted to him, even though I'd given Adam 3 of the same cigars. Makes sense. But I was telling him about some of the local historical stuff, just where in case he and Kayla wanted to try to see some sites just locally before he headed out of town. Not that the coat wasn't enough. Man, that's a beautiful coat. Oh, I mean, that's a very beautiful coat. Coat.
Coat.
But still, I was telling him, I was like, we all know our local histories, and why aren't we sharing it more? Why aren't we talking about it more? And thinking about Michael Hardy saying that, I just figured that, tonight would be a good night to talk about some of our local stories and have a few laughs and just lay back and relax and get ready for Jordy, who's going to be on next week, who's going to talk about the Ag Award that the Tennessee Division gives out, because we are and have always been an agrarian people.
Very true.
This award's given out to a multitude of people for a multitude of reasons. Would be a great way for a retention effort, especially now that we're in somewhat of fair season all across the United States. We have county fairs going on. We've got all that sort of stuff. Settling differences through violent response was part of our culture. In more recent decades, it's been frowned upon. Southern boys were once encouraged to defend their family honor. I think perhaps if we brought it back, well, ...
You would have all of a sudden a whole lot of people who talk a lot of crap shut up.
Yeah. Pope, this happened in 1862. Or no, excuse me, 1863. When Jubal Early and Barksdale got into it after Second Fredericksburg. Because Barksdale's account in the OR versus Early's account in the OR, there's some differences of opinions. Early says that, he retreated. Barksdale says, well, we had a flag of truce. They were trying to get their wounded. They spotted how thin our lines were. They pushed us. We did the best that we could. Outnumbered 20-1. Yeah, we lost a couple of batteries of guns and we lost, half of a regiment. But, still, I dare anybody to do any better. So, anyway, what you got planned for tomorrow night, Moose?
Tomorrow night? Well, yeah. I was going to go watch Look Around Florida.
You are?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to pull up the graphic?
Well, we can't have everything go perfect tonight.
You know why? Because I got the disclaimer right. That's what happened.
It really threw us off.
Remember, tomorrow night, tune in to Look Around Florida with Sean McFall, 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time, 7 p.m. Confederate Daylight Time. Give him a good check out. What you doing Thursday, Moose?
Well, so I do need to do some explaining on that before we go off the air. So originally we were going to have Lieutenant Commander-in-Chief Donnie Kennedy on to talk about his platform for Commander-in-Chief, but a family thing has come up. It's a good thing. We should all be happy for Mr. Kennedy, but that does mean he's not going to be able to be on our Thursday show. Now, I'm trying to reschedule it because we plan our episodes out so much in advance that I'm going to be looking for someone in our current lineup to step up. And now if I can't find someone to step up,
we'll make Adam do it.
No, Mr. Ron has contacted me saying he would be willing to, but I'm going to first try to see if I can find a guest we got scheduled so it'd be easier to reschedule Mr. Kennedy. So that's kind of a plan. I will hopefully have an update for everybody tomorrow. So check out either SCV Chat on Facebook, Instagram, or our website. I'll try to post it on all three of them.
We really need to figure out how to turn that off with StreamYard.
I have no idea.
Yeah, stop it.
But you can still send your news to scvyouthOutreach@gmail.com, and you'll be featured on the upcoming episode of Look Around the Confederation. Make sure you have your news submitted before 3 p.m. on Thursday to ensure that we get it in the episode.
And phonetically spell out hard-sounding words.
We lost GCB, But that's kind of the plan for this week. I don't know. I don't think we have anything else. I'll check the rundown. Make sure to support us on Patreon, of course. And, of course, check us out on Bonfire. Get our lovely T-shirts.
And you can find that easily.
Be a lot cooler if you did.
Be a lot cooler if you did.
And, of course, support our season sponsor, Creative Cockades.
Because every cockade has a story to tell. Research, documentation, quality workmanship, and personal customer service. Heather does a great job. I'm going to pull up her website really quickly.
All right. See, here's just some of her work.
Yeah, that's, again, what we did. See the great research there in italicized from an original newspaper account.
And I think that is everything. Let's see here.
Yeah.
Oh, well, wait. Hold on. Wait a second.
Ooh. Ah. Ooh.
Ah.
Tennessee. See, there's a quote from the Nashville Union and American. Of course, she's got the Winnie Davis. There's the SCV one with our colors on it. The Nathan Bedford Forrest and Marianne. Speaking of Nathan Bedford Forrest, David Pope's episode this upcoming Thursday or Friday is based on the real Forrest. Lovely Missouri cockade. But it's more than just, for the war or historical ones. There's other ones, especially, we just had Memorial Day. Great way to honor, father, grandfather. If you have a camp namesake, you can photo. You can put the photo in there. Of course, she's got some Rev War ones. Scottish ones, if you're Scottish. The Confederate tartan one. So, yeah.
They all look phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can find her UCV one. Okay, that's cool. Oh, she's out of stock of those. Dang it. I was gonna. Ooh, no, that's Virginia. Dang it again. She's from the Carolinas. I may get one for reunion from South Carolina. Just because that'd be cool. Anyway, we appreciate you tuning in. We will be back. We will see. I may see y'all on Thursday, depending on Moose if he calls me. If not, so be it. But we will be back next Monday with Jordy Barnett, who's going to talk about the wonderfulness of that Ag Award. It'll be fun.
I can't wait.
So yeah, Jordy, you've got our emails. Send us our stuff. Remember, in the name of the late and great Harold Philpotts, no Fumar in the elevator.
No Fumar in the elevator. Go slap some people.
Don't slap people. Don't. Not my views, not anybody's views. Don't slap people. That's not cool.